earliest photos I have of the old Lyon homestead show it with a small porch in front. The original split shingles on the exterior were usually whitewashed in my great-grandfather's time, which was before and after the Civil War. My grandmother, Julia Lyon Saunders, helped me with a college paper I wrote about the home in 1975. I still have my notes. Here's some of the information she shared with me. The old house served as a landmark for travelers heading up and down the coast between Greenwich and New York along the Boston Post Road. The house was built just east of the Byram River at the Byram Bridge. It was built sometime before 1700 and is the oldest home still standing in Greenwich. It's vacant now, but 7 generations of the Lyon family made their home here. The small entry hall might have been where the old boot hook I have used to hang, handy for removing muddy boots. The steeply pitched stairs might have been easier to navigate with familiarity, but I find them a bit tricky. The large room to the first floor is generally regarded as a hall or room for the family to share for cooking and eating. Its large fireplace provided heat and a place to cook over the fire or bake or roast in the oven. The family probably used it as a workroom for spinning wool and weaving. We have some of the original spinning wheels and tools for carding and spinning wool. Current research leads us to believe that the house was built in 2 parts, with the old hall and the bedroom above it as part of the original building. The growing family at some point needed more room, and the parlor on the left as you enter, and the room with a fireplace above it were added at a later point. A rear kitchen was the last portion added to the house. The completion to the form you see today took about 20 years. The Lyon family began calling this downstairs hall the Yankee Guard Room during the Revolutionary War because the family entertained members of the Continental Army here. The name stuck ever after. My grandmother told me her ancestors would lock the house at night using a simple but effective bar across the front door. 2 boys in the family would sleep at the rear of the house with a rifle near the door in an effort to protect their livestock from wolves. It's hard to imagine wolves in Connecticut today, but back then the barn was built close to the home because of the wolf population. The kitchen at the rear of the house spans both sides of the old home and makes up the shorter rear walls of the salt box shape. On the right, as you enter, my grandmother said, was a room that was partitioned off that had originally been used for a pantry and storage for butter, milk, and cheese. This pantry room later became a bathroom when the indoor plumbing was installed. The room that now leads outside, on the opposite end of the kitchen, at one time opened to a small addition that served first as a dining room and later a bedroom. When the house was moved in 1927, this wing was not moved with it. In my grandmother's time, a reporter visiting the house recalled the attic, crammed like a museum of sorts, full of old tools, furnishings, and household goods from years gone by. Real Yankees, the Lyons saved everything, and because of their deep respect for their ancestors and their love of their old home, they kept everything they could. The Lyon homestead was a working farm for many generations. Each generation added to the farm's outbuildings and improved its production. They grew enough produce to sell it locally and shipped the surplus into New York City. A farm journal shows planning for an extensive apple orchard in the early 1800s. Later generations reaped the rewards. We hope someday we can reinstall some of the original furnishings just as my grandmother Julia envisioned, and have it open as a museum as it was once destined to be. The old Lyon homestead is part of the disappearing landscape of the past that really should not be lost. It looks rough today, but it has, as the saying goes, good bones, and is very much a part of Greenwich's long history. I hope someday you'll be able to visit it yourself and take a step back in time.